Hello and welcome back to the channel for another video that we'll be doing today. We needed to find another series to continue on, and I thought no better place to start than going through and attempting to get 3-star clears of each of the Infinity Rifts. Of course, the rifts do get more and more difficult as you progress through them. However, we'll be starting with the basic and easiest of those rifts, which are the Gamma style rift. Now, we'll be going through a couple of these rifts today and walking through the requirements and then the gameplay of clearing those out with the 3-star difficulty clearing. So make sure that you're subscribed if you are interested in seeing more videos like this, or subscribe for any of the other videos that I do have coming out, as I have daily uploads of a variety of different sorts, including a couple of projects that I'm in the works of that I'm really excited to share with you and get your feedback on. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the first of the 5 rifts that we will be reviewing today. So the first rift that we'll be clearing out today is the level 7 ability trial where we defeat Nebula. This fight is pretty straightforward. The quirk for this fight is abilities and synergies deal more damage, but other attacks deal reduced damage, and EP is recovered a little bit more simply. To get the 3-star clear in this trial, what we'll need to do is clear out the trial, of course, as well as defeat 25 enemies and finish in less than a minute. So the reason that I picked the team that I'm currently using of Miles Morales, Wolverine, Gambit, and Thanos is because they are some of my higher level or higher damage dealing characters, and Miles Morales and Gambit are very, very handy for dishing out large amounts of damage in a short period of time, because Miles Morales can cover the ground very effectively with his Electro web, and Remy, of course, has his damaging auras that he lands down around the field. So, as a level 7 ability rift, this is a pretty simple ability trial to clear out and get the 3-star victory on. The second rift that we'll be attempting and clearing out is the level 8 Wave Rift, where we defeat 100 enemies in the Kree ship. This has no quirks to it, you've just got to knock out the enemies as they come around. It's very straightforward. Really the only things that you need to keep in mind is you should finish this in a minute and 10 seconds or less, as well as deal 70,000 damage with synergy attacks. But as long as you're using heavy damage dealing attacks and large areas of effect, you really shouldn't have to worry about getting the clear on this one either. So I still think that the team setup that we had in the previous rift was going to be the most efficient here, which is why I kept with it. As you can see, Miles Morales, he just doles out these Electro webs across the battlefield. And you did see that Gambit activated his floor trap there as well, which just really allows you to knock through these enemies very, very quickly and quite efficiently. Of course, you do have to keep in mind that the EP gauge does not recharge on its own, as it does with other styles of these rifts, so you will need to make sure that you are dealing a couple of just standard attacks to help bolster that EP up, or focus on those blue orbs that are scattered around the battlefield in order to recuperate your EP to keep doling these attacks out. But that fight is really quite simple as long as you have high damage dealing abilities and synergies that you can dish out. The third rift that we'll be clearing out today is the level 9 Boost Rift, where we defeat Venom and Electro. The quirk to keep in mind here is that friends and foes deal more damage, so just kind of be wary that you're not getting knocked around too much, as there's not a whole lot of opportunity to regain health. But the quirks that you need to keep in mind as you clear these out are defeating all of the enemies, which you can clear it out if you blitz past some of the grunts at the first part of the fight, but you will sacrifice this star. But honestly, you've got plenty of time to be able to finish in that 3 minutes and 30 second time frame, even with knocking out Venom and Electro. It's pretty simple. So as you'll see here, you do start a little bit before the actual boss fight, and there are these enemies that are scattered about, not only in this room, but the room before it as well. But as long as you're conscious of where you're going and can knock out these enemies pretty quickly. There really isn't anything that you should be too worried about in terms of clearing out this fight, especially because it doesn't have the annoying quirk of having you fight the characters or traverse the areas with the lasers. This is really quite simple. Now, in my run through here today, there was one enemy that was kind of hiding in the background. You can see him throwing fireballs there from the background. But, you know, you run up with Gambit and slam your staff down on top of his head, and you've pretty much got exactly what you need to continue on to the final boss fight. Now, one thing that you do want to keep in mind with this boss fight is Electro, if he hits you with his attacks, he will cause you to stagger, and Venom is constantly spewing out these symbiote gunk blobs. But the best thing that I found to kind of blitz through this a little quickly is to lay Gambit's floor traps down. You can have up to 2 of them out at a time, and in a small arena like this, you can basically cover the entire area pretty succinctly. And ideally, you want to try and get Electro down before he does that charge attack, because it will connect with basically everyone on your team and knock them down. But Venom's the more simple of the two to take down once you've got Electro out of the way. Now you'll see here that I'm setting up more of these floor traps with Gambit just because they are pretty efficient at dealing damage even through the stagger bar. And we've got Venom down to about half health before he jumps up here onto the wall. And we need to keep in mind the exposed wires to activate the sirens and fully deplete the rest of his stagger bar. But as long as you keep an eye on the attack and roll out of the way, you can actually clear that out with no damage taken at all. And from there, it's pretty straightforward in terms of knocking the rest of his health down. For the 4th rift, we have a level 10 synergy trial where we're asked to defeat Dr. Octopus. This one did throw me for a loop the first time that I tried clearing it out, but admittedly I did not read the description or it would have been a lot easier. The quirk with synergy trials is all of your synergy attacks deal more damage, but everything else, including your base special attacks, deal less damage, but you recover more EP from attacking characters. Now this fight does have 2 different stages, which you need to keep in mind because in order to get one of these stars you need to clear it out with having no team members incapacitated, as well as finishing in a 2-minute and 15-second time frame or less. Other than that quirk of needing to use synergy attacks, you really shouldn't have too much difficulty with this. Now, with synergy attacks, you can only use them if you have that indication that you have a teammate nearby that can activate that attack with you. But as you saw there, once we got Dr. Octopus stuck in the Electro webs, it was pretty easy to melt down the majority of his health bar. Honestly, I should have used Miles Morales' sneak attack synergy here to finish out the rest of it. However, he had run out of EP from laying down all the Electro webs, so I did need to switch up my strategy a little bit. And Wolverine's attack here, coupled with Thanos, took out the rest of Dr. Octopus's health. Now, in the second phase of this attack, of course, the elevator locks shut, and then Dr. Octopus comes crashing down from the ceiling on top of you, which puts you all back together and in a bit of a hit stun animation. But I found that Wolverine, if he used just his standard slashing attack, could make pretty quick work of the health bar to stagger down Dr. Octopus's tentacles and get him to stagger. But you do have to keep in mind that each of his tentacles does something just a little bit different. This one here in the corner pretty consistently will just bash around on the floor and cause you to go into that hit stun animation. But as soon as I was able to get the final tentacle staggered out here, it was curtains for Dr. Octopus. You know, we just all unloaded on him here in the middle of the floor. And with one fell swoop of a combo attack, we had his health bar completely depleted. And the final rift that we'll be having a look at today is the level 12 countdown, the Raft rift, where the quirk with this fight is there are only 50 seconds on the clock, but there are enemies that will appear that as you defeat them, you will regain time onto that clock. Now, ideally you want to finish this in less than 5 minutes. That should be very simple, especially because as you burst through the different characters, or if you're not quick enough, you'll easily have your timer expire well before that 5-minute mark. And the other thing that you need to keep in mind, which again is pretty simple to do as long as you're familiar with using team synergy attacks, is you have to get 25,000 damage or more in that time frame as you're clearing out the rift. However, this is made pretty simple because you not only fight Dr. Octopus again, but you also clear out the rift against Green Goblin as well. And that is the Time Stone version of Green Goblin that you fight in the main story quest. So there's a couple of grunts that show up every now and again. As long as you can knock them down, you'll have, you know, about 50 seconds added to the clock right off the bat. This is pretty straightforward, and it doesn't have the same gimp as the previous rift, where you don't have to keep in mind Dr. Octopus can only be damaged with special attacks, because all of your attacks will do a standard amount of damage here. So I'm focusing mainly with Gambit in keeping some floor traps set down, as that is a very efficient way of burning down his health. Now, during these obligatory little cutscenes, you will notice that the time does pause, which is nice, because nobody wants to have to fight back around having done other fights. Now, my original idea here was to put some floor traps down in the corners as Dr. Octopus comes crashing down. Alas, that did not work as well as I was hoping that it would, so I just needed to try setting them back up once he actually came down. And that was pretty efficient in knocking out or staggering out the tentacles from continuing their attacks. From here, we're able to burst down Dr. Octopus very quickly, adding another 30 seconds to our timer. And then the elevator did continue up to activate the fight against Green Goblin. Now, I'm a bit miffed that this little transitional cutscene did not stop or pause the timer. But at the end of the day, we had more than enough time to get out to this fight and finish it out. Now, these bombs can be a little bit tedious to use because they are not automatically thrown in the direction of Green Goblin. So one of the things that I wanted to do to get some more consistent damage applied to Green Goblin as he's waiting here is having the floor trap active, as it does extend past that railing and just is able to lay down some consistent and reliable damage against Green Goblin here. Now, despite there being a pause in the game time, the timer of clearing out this rift does not pause when Green Goblin activates his Time Stone ability there. Only other thing that I had forgotten about is those shurikens that he lays down do not, or they do affect the bombs, and I had neglected to cancel the command to pick one of them up, and thus took some more damage that I really didn't need to. But I didn't get incapacitated for it, so there's no penalty on that, and really didn't have too much to be concerned about after that point. Now, with one final pumpkin bomb there, we were able to stagger the last of him, making him susceptible to more of our standard attacks, and that was pretty simple in terms of clearing out the remainder of that rift. Alright, well that's going to do it for those 5 rifts. Of course, we will be progressing and doing the rest of these and attempting to, or succeeding in, getting those 3-star clears, and a walkthrough and breakdown of how to do each of those as well. So, again, if you enjoyed today's video and are excited to see more content that will be coming in the next couple of days, then make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Don't forget to throw a like on the video and leave me a comment letting me know what you think. Until then, thanks again for watching, and you have yourself a great rest of your day.